Hi, everyone. Welcome to this week's edition of the Carvel Community Meeting. Today's date is October 28th, 2021. If you are watching this from home as a recording, we encourage you to come and join us live. We do meet every Thursday at 10:30 a.m. Pacific time. It's an opportunity for you to meet the maintainers that are working on the Carvel tools, bring up anything you wish to discuss with them or need help with, or just simply listen and participate in however you wish to. If you have any discussion items that you do want to bring up with the team, please add those down at the bottom of the agenda in the discussion topics section, and we'll get to that towards the end of the meeting. If you aren't able to make it to this meeting and wish to connect with us, we can be found on the Carvel channel in the Kubernetes Slack workspace. If you aren't already a member there, you can simply request an invitation to gain access. The link is within the agenda here. And you can also find us on Twitter at Carvel_dev. Whenever you are interacting with the Carvel team, whether it be in Twitter, Kubernetes Slack, GitHub, whatever avenue you find us, we ask that you please read and abide by our code of conduct. Next up, when you are attending these meetings, please put your name and the organization that you are representing. That helps us keep track of who from outside of the maintainers are joining, and we can keep those lines of communication open. And we also ask that you put some details on how you are using the Carvel tools within this pinned issue that goes over like what's your organization, link to your website, how you're using the Carvel tools, and then you can also add your company's logo for a little bit of cross promotion. We can add you to the adopters page, and others that come across the Carvel GitHub repo will see that and also learn about how you may be using Carvel and in turn help them. John, I see you have a little balloon here. Is it your birthday?
No, just being whimsical. Just, yeah. Did a little team building exercise this morning and we were talking about being marooned on an island and what would you bring? One of my favorite items was a helium balloon kit. So just feeling it today. But thanks
Love
for
it.
asking.
Yeah. Okay. On to announcements. Just a couple of items here. We had some releases over the last few days. We have image package 21 and 22, and then CapController 29. Anybody available to go over image package? What happened there?
Yeah, I can talk to a little bit about why we have two releases back to back. Uh, we're in the midst of migrating, finishing a migration from the K14S GitHub org into the VMware Tanzu GitHub org. And as a part of that, the each of the projects declare their module usually with that URL that where they're hosted at. So today, if you were integrating with tools like image package before release 2.2, 0.22, you'd be referring to the K14S. After that release, if you're integrating programmatically with image package, if you're using it as a dependency for your code project, now you would use the VMware Tanzu based URL that's in there. And we wanted to have that as a separate change, completely separate release completely, so that if you needed any of the features that we released in 0.21, that you could enjoy those without having to necessarily take on that change. But from 0.22 on, you'll need to make that change in your dependencies if you're programmatically integrating with image package.
That's very good to know. Thank you, John. For CapController,
I wasn't involved, but I think it's kind of a cool story because in some ways, almost none of us was involved. This is basically a contribution from the open source community that then basically so that this contributor could use what they had contributed promptly. Dimitri cut a release, and so it adds some helps us work with Helm better in our packages to consume Helm charts. And I really couldn't tell you more than that. That's the beauty of open source.
all right, thanks, Joe. And thanks, Jeremy Boyle, for your contributions. Really exciting to see that. Any other announcements before we move on to status updates? Okay. On to project roadmap. Any updates to share here from last week? See YTT guides and examples, that seems to be new. I know it's TBD, but anybody want to go over? No one's on the call for CAP.
Yeah, I can share at a high level state of the roadmap. For the CAP, the first item, I think that work is still in progress. I know it's just like a substantial feature, but looking at the backlog, it seems like it's still being worked on. YTT side of things, the export YTT schema as open API schema is definitely top priority and something that we're continuing to work on. After that, we can see lots of TBD items. I would say roughly like this looks like the order of priorities, at least if you were to filter by tool. But what this probably signals is that it's time for like another quarterly planning meeting where we can flesh out some of these timelines and estimates a little bit better. So yeah, that's I think for the most part, most things in here are the same. We just have started to remove things as they've been completed, which is why it's a bit shallower from the timeline perspective.
Awesome. Thanks, Aaron. On to the Carvel backlog. Is there anything that the team is working on right now that's outside of the project roadmap items for this week? I did like kind of a first glance earlier.
I think I could share on CapController. There's an issue that a few people have bumped into where it turns out if you do it just wrong, you can have a package repository and a package sharing the same name, and CapController doesn't handle that gracefully. So Neil and I have had kind of a back burner, but kind of 1 or 2 hours a day for the last couple of days of digging into that and trying to understand whether there's an easy way out or there's an obvious longer road out, and we're still checking for shortcuts, and so that'll I forget, there's a story. I couldn't tell you where. It has a number, it has a ticket, it exists in our backlog somewhere, but it's anyways the end.
Awesome. Thanks, Joe, for sharing that. Anybody have anything else they wish to share?
I was just going to toss out that I met with Dennis and Zhao earlier this week, and they kind of got me going on another image package issue, one that I actually proposed, which is adding a tag. Basically, every time you push an image up to a OCI registry, we're going to basically put on a default tag. This goes back to we were having some issues with TCE where packages that got pushed up, if their tag got removed, then Harbor would come around and garbage collect the image. So if we always have some sort of default tag, images won't get garbage collected and deleted anymore. So
Sounds like a pretty good one. Thanks, Nick. Anybody else?
Yeah, I got a little one that's that might be under the radar that, if you're watching this recording and you'd be rewarded by being here. In the YTT land, there's been an uptick in people wanting to use YTT as a project dependency, not just the command line tool, but like actually use YTT's templating capabilities in their own projects. We have a story that's in progress right now in the backlog. It's 513. And right now it's documenting, 513. And it's documenting how does one integrate with YTT. And right now the short answer is like there's like one spot right now where we have sort of a formal, is there a way to view the PR from here? Files changed. Yeah, that's fine. Yep. So this is just right now, we're trying to document the current state. You can see this is a work in progress. So here's my call to action. If you have an interest if you're thinking about integrating with YTT programmatically, now's a great time to influence what sort of APIs we will develop in addition to the one that we have today, which we understand is a little bit clunky at the moment. There's a couple examples of integration in here. You can kind of get started with even just the stuff that's in this PR. But we'd love to hear from you. So if this is the kind of thing that you're interested in doing soon, let your voice be heard if you have opinions about what that API should look like. You can either comment on that PR, you could just drop into the Slack channel, like all of those. There is no ether in this project. Like your requests or notes don't just disappear. We'll see it, but the Slack channel is the most visible. Love to hear from you.
Thanks, John. Really appreciate that. Okay, it doesn't look like anyone's put any discussion topics in the agenda. Does anybody have anything that they wish to discuss? Nope. Okay. Well, thanks everyone for joining today. Again, if you're watching this from home, we encourage you to come join us live. We meet every Thursday at 10:30 a.m. Pacific time. So until then, have a good rest of your week and enjoy your weekend.